am I doing so far this year with my goals, and have I found some favorite books? Hi, my name is Jeanette, and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. So today I'm going to do the mid-year freakout tag and just a goal check-in to see how I'm doing. I've seen quite a few versions of this freakout tag done by people, and because of the way my brain works, I had to wait till the end of June to do the check-in for the mid-year because the year wasn't, we were midway at the end of June. I can't do it before that. Plus, it kind of gave me a nice even number, right? I knew where I was at that point of the year, and then for the first 6 months, and now I've got the next 6 months to kind of catch up on any goals that I'm falling behind on or whatever. So I'm going to do the check-in tag first. And as I said, I'd seen quite a few people do different versions of this, but I saw Chrissy from Chrissy's Purple Library do this with the questions are a little bit different, a little bit more to what I want to talk about. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm using the questions that she had. Okay, so the first one is the best book you read so far. Well, I can't pick just one book. And I've read quite a few rereads. I didn't write down the number, but I've tried not to include them in the answers for this because I've reread them, most likely because I enjoyed them before. Some of them are because I had no idea why they were still on my shelves. I could not remember reading them. Okay, so I'm trying to do kind of first time reads for me. So the best book I've read so far, I have pulled 3 of them. Well, I've pulled 2 off my shelves. 1 is on my Kindle. So the first one is Fairest of Heart by Karen Whitmire. This is a historical romance. It is a Snow White retelling, which shocked me because it shocked me that I enjoyed it as much as I did, because I don't think I've ever read any fairy tale retellings. Fairy tales just isn't my thing. And reading this, I just really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed following the main character and then the grandfather figures, kind of the dwarfs, the group of grandfather figures that live together. I really enjoyed this one. Okay, then the next book is The Hope of Azure Springs by Rachel Fordham. In this one, we are following M, who has arrived in town injured, and they don't know her history. Then, so Caleb, the sheriff, starts investigating kind of where did M come from, what's going on, as they learn the background, what she's been through, and then Em and Caleb develop a friendship, and watching that friendship bloom into something more. I just loved the community of it and kind of the found family aspect of just people grouping together to help somebody. I just really enjoyed that one. Okay, then the third book was Henley by Shanna Hatfield. This one is the main character, Henley, is going on the train from one side of America to another side of America, basically, to become a mail order bride. When she gets there, the prospective groom, something's happened, and what's going to happen? Because now Henley is alone, and I loved watching a friendship develop between a certain character, and was there the possibility of more or not? I loved it. Okay, then question number 2 is the best sequel you've read so far. Well, that was a really easy answer for me. Positively Penelope by Pepper Basham. I just loved Penelope in the story. And we are following her. She goes to Skymar on a 3-month internship to help at a theater with their kind of marketing, and gets involved and gets to know these 2 brothers, and a possible relationship forms with one of the brothers. But Penelope just loves theater, loves Julie Andrews, and I got majority of the references because I was familiar with the stuff in this one, and the title is perfect. She is so positive about things. I really enjoyed my time with this one. Okay, then number 3. New releases you haven't yet read but still want to. Okay, I'm going to go to my new release section. Okay, so the ones that are on my list to read that I have not got to yet is The Foxhole Victory Tour by Amy Lynn Green. I don't really know a lot about this one, but I really enjoyed a few books by Amy Lynn Green, so this one's on my list, and it's a beautiful cover. Then One Wrong Move by Danny Petrie. This is a romantic suspense. I've heard amazing things about this book, but it's book 1 in a series, which is why I have not read it yet. Then Never Fall Again by Lynn H. Blackburn. Again, it's a romantic suspense. It's book 1 of a series, and I can't start this one until I read her previous series. Not because they're connected, because I have her other series on my list, like on my shelves that I need to read. So that's the only reason I haven't read this one yet. And then Sandcastle Inn by Irene Hannon. That is the next book I have to read in the Hope Harbor series. I just haven't got to it yet. And those are the only ones, because I just finished the other one that was on my list. Okay, then number 4 is my most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So there's a few. So in August, Target Acquired by Lynette Easton comes out. That's book 2 of a series, Lake City Heroes, I want to say. I read book 1 in December or January. It came out in January. And I love Lynette Easton. So that one I definitely want to read that one. Then Beyond Ivy Walls by Rachel Fordham also releases in August. But I do have an advance reader copy of this one. And I really hope to read it in July. So that is Beauty and the Beast retelling, I've been told. And then Over the Edge by Irene Hannon comes out in October. And this one is book 2 of a series that released last year. Into the Fire was book 1. I really enjoyed it. Again, I've loved Irene Hannon's romantic suspense. And then the last book is Cloaked in Beauty by Karen Whitmire. This is book 3 in the Fairest of the Heart series. No, is that what no, book 1 was called The Fairest of the Heart. Texas Ever After is the name of the series. And again, I've enjoyed this series. It's been a surprise series for me because, again, it's fairy tale retellings, which I did not expect to enjoy as much as I have book 1 and book 2. So book 3, I am ready for it, and it looks like it's Little Red Riding Hood. Could be mistaken, but I think that's what it is. Okay, then the biggest surprise. I have 2. So Heidi by Joanna Spry. This is a children's classic that I just read in the month of June, and I loved this book so much more than I expected to. I don't normally enjoy classics. It's hard for me to read a classic and totally get it, everything. And then the fact that it was a children's classic, it was like, am I gonna really enjoy that? I loved this book. The story was so sweet. The characters, the message within the book. I loved it. And then the other one is Last Light by Terry Blackstock. So this is an older series from Terry Blackstock. And it's when I first saw it released, like Terry Blackstock has been a favorite author of mine for years. I own a majority of her books and have kept up with, like, as the book comes out, I've read it. But when I first saw this series, it was like, it just did not interest me at all. And I'm like, I don't think I'll like that. And then I'm like, okay, nope. I own like all her books, almost all her books. I've read almost all of them. I'm like, I need to give this one a try. So I found the first 3 books at a library swap. And so I was like, okay, I'll pick them up because it didn't cost me anything. And I have loved it. I did not expect to like this book as much as I did. And I have thought about the story in this book so many times. And when I was reading it, like, I could not put it down. Now, I did only give it 4 stars when I read it. Did I read this at the June? I think it was June. Maybe May. I think it was June though. I did only give it 4 stars because there was a character choices I didn't really like in it. But like the family of characters and the group, it's a series I want to binge. And I have slowly been binging. At this point in time, I've read the first 3 books and I have only book 4 left to read it. And I've read them, I think, yeah, maybe it was June. Because I read 2 in June and I've just finished one first week of July, technically July 1st. So yeah, I was shocked by how much I did enjoy this book when I avoided it for years. Okay, then we go on the other side. Kind of disappointments. So disappointments for me is this, I mean, I'm saying this book, Sundown by Susan May Warren, but really is the series Sky King Ranch. I have really enjoyed a lot of Susan May Warren's series. Really enjoyed them. And so I was looking forward to this series. And I just didn't connect with it. And this one in particular, we're following, what is her job? Like, it's medical science. She's trying to develop a vaccine. And there was a lot of references to like airborne virus and stuff, and I just did not care for it. And then book 1 of this series takes place majority in Alaska in a snowstorm. Not my favorite setting. And yeah, it just, all 3 books were a 3-star for me of this series. I just was disappointed with it. And then the other book is Children of the Stars by Mario Escobar. Now, I did give this book 3 stars, but I expected to really enjoy this book based on the description. And I didn't connect with it the way I'd hoped to connect with it, and it left me with questions about how some of the other characters were feeling, and I just didn't connect the way I expected to. I really want to read that, and then when I did get to it, I was like, oh. I am so glad I buddy read it though, because I think if I had read it by myself, I probably would have enjoyed it even less than I did. Okay, now, new favorite author can either be somebody you've just discovered or somebody who is a debut author. And I have an answer for both of those. So for the debut author, Angela Carlisle, I read Secondary Target, which was her first book. I wish I could remember when I read these books. I want to say May it came out, and I loved it. I picked it up because it was blurbed by Lynn H. Blackburn, and I was like, okay, well, she's recommending this. I'm going to give it a try. It's a romantic suspense, and I was hooked. I love these characters, and then the end, I did not see the ending coming. I was so shocked by it. So it is book 1 of a series, so I can't wait to read book 2, but I will definitely be picking up like any more books by this author to give them a try. Okay, then the other one is just somebody who has quite a few books out, and it was a new to me author that I read in April, and that is Carrie Stewart Parks. I read Fragments of Fear, and I really enjoyed that book. And I'm like, how have I never read anything by this author before? And I do have 3 of her other books on my shelf, so I do need to get some of those read to see. So those are the 2 I'm going to say for right now. Okay, so newest favorite character. So I decided to pick a female character and a male character. Okay, so for the female character, Penelope. Yeah, just her outlook on life and perspective of things and how she chooses to be happy and be positive about events around her. Such an inspiration. I really enjoyed her. Okay, then for the male character, I'm going to say Quincy from Where the Road Bends by Rachel Fordham. Just the way he tried to change or was looking for a change in his life and made the decision to change, and then kind of tried to work for the community to make his community around him better and bring in people to help and kind of improve their life as well. I just really enjoyed the way he treated other people. Okay, a book that made you cry. Now, I don't cry a lot in books, and when I first saw this question, I was like, what book? There's only one book I could think of. It is a reread for me, but I bawled just as much as I did the first time I read it. And that is Jimmy by Robert Whitlow. There are two particular moments throughout this book that just had me bawling. And like I couldn't stop crying. And yeah, it just touched me so much. And it was the only book I could think of that made me cry so far this year. And so in this one, we are following a 12-year-old boy. I think he's 12 when it opens. Yeah, I think so. And he's considered special. And so he's in a special class. His dad is a lawyer, and then we follow his grandfather, well, his grandparents, grandmother and grandfather, but really he forms a relationship with his grandfather. And we're just following him kind of living life and his perspective on the world around him. And we watch him grow up from, I think, 12 to about 15, 16, and just the events that take place. I really connected and felt for him. And then there are moments that happened that just made me so upset that it broke my heart. And that's why I bawled at times. So yeah, emotional. Okay, so then on the opposite aspect, what books made you happy? Again, I had to add a reread for this one. More Than Words Can Say by Karen Whitmire. I just love these characters. And it's a marriage of convenience story. We are following Zach and Abigail. Or is that this? No, Abigail's the main character. Rosie's the sister. And so Abigail gets told that she has inherited the bakery from her father when he passed away, but she gets told by city council that women can't have their name on the deed. She needs a man's name on the deed. Through different events, she ends up approaching Zach and asking him for a marriage of convenience just to get his name on the deed. She'll run the business. He doesn't have to change anything. And then we just watch a relationship develop, and Zach is such a protector and stands up for those he cares. And then the way Abigail stands up for herself to a couple other people that are really giving her a hard time. And I loved these characters. And again, it's a marriage of convenience where we follow, okay, we're just going to be friends. It's going to be like this. And then they fall in love, and we watch that develop. I was smiling so much throughout this book. I just loved it. And then the other book is Yours Truly, Thomas by Rachel Fordham. I had to include this one because in my review, the very first line of my review says, I was so happy when this book ended. I just had such happy feelings. I can't remember exactly how that's worded, but it was in that way. I had a smile on my face when this book ended. I just loved these characters. And we are following, what's her name? Penny, who works at the dead letter office, which was so cool, and finds this letter, and she's trying to reconnect the letter to the writer because they couldn't find the person it was sent to, the receiver, or the intended recipient. And then they connect, and a friendship forms, and possibly something more. I loved these characters and the way they bonded together. Okay, so the worst book I've read so far, or the books I DNF'd. Well, I've only DNF'd one book so far, and that was The Associate by John Grisham. I DNF'd it at the 40% mark. I just didn't like things that were included in it, and just didn't care for the character. And then I'd read that it doesn't end. Like, it's very unfinished at the end, and I'm like, I'm not putting myself through this to get to that. So I just there was inappropriate content for what I was comfortable reading in it. So I decided at the 40% mark, I'm going to stop it. I flipped to the last chapter, read the last chapter, and I was like, I am so glad I did not waste my time in this book. And then the worst book that I did read the full way through, 1984 by George Orwell. I can't believe I read the whole thing. Because again, there's some scenes in it that I was like, what am I doing to myself? Why is this book such a classic? I just, yeah. That's all I have to say about this. Yeah. Okay, so the most beautiful book you've acquired this year. So I have two, but they're really similar. They're basically the same. Not quite, but they're two different books, but they're the same. So The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom and Hind's Feet on High Places by Hannah Hurnard, I think. So I haven't read this one yet. I have read this one. So these are two books that I purchased for Krista from Books and Jams is doing a read-along. And these are two of the books this year. So we've already done this one. This one is, I want to say, later in the fall. Or maybe this is the August one. I'm not sure. There's two books left, and one of them is one of these. But this is the illustrated edition. They're put out... I don't know who they're put out by. Oh, Tyndale. So they have pictures and quotes in it. Like, they're just beautiful. And for this one in particular, The Hiding Place, just having some of the pictures in it, especially like the layout of the house, just helped me understand the story more or visualize the story more. So I am looking forward to reading this one and hopefully get the same experience. So these are the most beautiful books I've acquired so far this year. So the last question on the tag is books that are still on your 2024 TBR. Okay, so that really leads me into my goals because the books that are left is really one of my goals. So let's just flip to the goals and talk about those. So goal number 1 was to read every day. I am glad to say I am on track for that. I have had a really good year. Okay, so goal number 2 was to read 98 books. Then goal number 3 was to listen to 24 audiobooks. I don't know why I split them up. I don't know what I was thinking in January, December when I made this goals list. So a few months ago when I was looking at this, it was like, what was I thinking? So then I changed because I had my Goodreads goal at 98 books. So then, because I had 98 books and 24 audiobooks, I changed my Goodreads goal to 122 books. So that's those two numbers combined. Because I especially was combo reading some books, so I would listen to them and also be physically reading it, or like not at the same time. Some books not at the same time. And so it was like, okay, I need to change that goal. So my goal should be 122 books for the year. I am currently at 66 books read, so I am ahead of schedule by 4 or 5 books, I think. So we're on track for that. And so I'm saying that at least 24 of those books need to be some form of audiobook. And I am currently at 23 audiobooks that I'm listening to, but I am currently listening to one in July. So at the end of June, I was at 23. I do have one book on audio that I'm currently listening to. So I'm at 24. So by the end of the year, I will have more than 24 audiobooks because I don't plan on stopping listening to audiobooks. Okay. Then goal number 4 is to read the 24 books on my TBR bingo board. So that's my 24 and 24. And this is currently what my bingo board looks like. So I am ahead of schedule a little bit. So the books that are left on the bingo board to read. So these are the ones that I need to read by the end of the year. And that is To Steal a Heart by Jen Turano. This one is actually on my July TBR, so I will get this one soon. Then I have Saltwater Cowboy by Christy Barrett. This one is on my Kindle. Then I have The Price of Valor by Susan May Warren, which is book 3 of a series. This is also on my Kindle. So really, I need to read books 1 and 2 of that series as well. Then I have To Right a Wrong by Jen Turano. Why do I have such a problem with her name? But this is book 2 of the To Steal a Heart series, like the same series. So once I read that one, I can then read this one. Then I have Quilt for Christmas by Melody Carlson, but this is a Christmas book, so I can't read it yet. Then I have The Solid Grounds Coffee Company by Carla Lorando. This is book 3 of this series, but this one is also on my July TBR, so that one will be read this month. Okay, then I have Power Play by Rachel Dillon. This is book 3 of the series, so I need to read book 1 and book 2. So that's a few books. Then I have The Land Beneath Us by Sarah Sendin, which is also book 3 of a series. So I need to get The Sea Before Us and The Sky Above Us read before I can even read this one. Oops. And then the last book is Reclaiming Nick by Susan May Warren. This is book 1 of a series, thankfully book 1. So even though on my bingo board I have 9 books, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9 books left on the bingo board to read out of the 24. However, because some of them are books 2 or 3 of a series, I technically have 15 books out of my 24 left to read. I mean, technically it wasn't 24 because it was more, but whatever. Okay, then my next goal was to read 24 books on my rereads bingo board. So there's 24 books on this board. These are ones that are on my shelves that I either do not remember reading and have no review on Goodreads for them, or I just really enjoyed them and want to reread them. So out of this 24, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 11 left here, and only 2 of them, I think, are books 2 of a series. I don't think there's any book 3s. So really, again, I'm at 11, 12, 13, so 14 books maybe left out of this, but not bad. There is one book that I had on my rereads bingo board last year that is on this board this year that I carried over, and I still haven't read it. If I don't have it read by the end of the year, I think it's time to say goodbye to that book. Okay, then goal number 6 was to limit my advanced reader copies to 12 books, so 1 per month. I am on track for that. I'm actually less than 1 per month because I didn't read in March or April. One of those I didn't read, so I'm okay there. Okay, then number 7 was to complete my own yearly reading challenge. I am on track for that. I have read 1 per month. Then number 8 was to complete Katie from Paperbacks and Ponytails, her yearly reading challenge. I am on track for that, and I've kept up each month. And then number 9 was to complete Oshina's Christian romance reading challenge, or no, what's her reading challenge called? Her yearly reading challenge anyways. I have read 6 so far for that one. Okay, then my last goal was to complete 8 specific series this year, and I listed out those series. So I had 8 series listed, so I've got my printable for those 8 series. So the first series, some of these I'd already started and just needed to finish them. Some of them I just wanted to read the complete series this year. Okay, so the first series is Hope Arbor Hope Harbor by Irene Hannon. There's currently 10 books in that series, and I am up to book number 9. So I only have one more book to read, and that last book is the one that was is called Sandcastle Inn, and it was just released in April. So I am fairly up to date. Okay, then I wanted to complete the Misty River series by Becky Wade. I only had one book left in that series to read, and I've read it this year, so that one is completed. Then I want to complete the original 6 hockey series by Carolyn Miller. There are 6 books in the series, and I've read 2 in 2023. So I haven't read any of them yet this year. So I have 4 books in that series to read. Then I had the Sky King Ranch series by Susan May Warren. There is 3 books in that series. I had read 1 in 2023, so I had 2 left to read, and I have read both of them, so I have completed that series. Okay, then there's the Defend and Protect series by Lynn H. Blackburn. There's 3 books in that series. I haven't read any of them yet, but I have plans. That series is coming soon. Okay, then I had London Beginnings by Jennifer Delamere. This is a 3-book series. I have read book 1 this year, so I have 2 books left in that series to read. Then The Supper Club by Carla Lorando. This is a 3-book series. I wanted to reread books 1 and 2 so that I could read book 3 this year. And I have reread books 1 and 2, and book 3 is on my July TBR. So that series will soon be complete. And then the last series is If I Run by Terry Blackstock. This is a 3-book series that I just want to binge. Read each book back to back. I have read this one, so it is a reread for me, but I just really want to reread it. And I haven't read it yet. But again, I have plans. So I'm doing fairly well on my goals. There's I need to read a little bit more series or focus on certain series to complete my bingo board because I really want to complete it this year. I didn't complete my rereads bingo board at all last year, and I'm missing one book. I missed one book on my bingo board last year. So I really would like to complete it this year. Plus, I also have plans for kind of a reward sort of if I complete my bingo board. So I need to complete my bingo board. We'll see what happens there. Okay, so how are you doing on your goals for so far this year? Are you freaking out a little bit? I'm not, other than I want to read more romantic suspense in the second half of the year. I've read a lot of historical and contemporary romance in the first half of this year, but I think that's the way it normally works for me. So we'll see. But I have plans to read a lot of suspense coming up. Hopefully that will work out. So I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video today, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.